guys, welcome to my channel, Life Speaking Food. Good food for every soul and a word for every heart. Hey you guys, this is Chef Dolores today, and today someone requested a low carb meal. So that is what we're going to make, and it's only going to consist of vegetable and a protein. And we're going to use dark meat just so it doesn't dry out. For flavor, we're going to make our own little glaze made of maple syrup, mustard, and gochujang with some leopard peppers. Yes. And we're also going to use coconut oil for the melting point and the smoking point. That way you don't get the burnt taste when you overheat the oil. So we're going to do dark meat, and we're going to use our vegetable of choice, collard greens. Yes. And I'm going to wash and soak those. I'm going to marinate my chicken. So we're going to get everything pre-done, get it going, get it plated, and we will go from there. So you asked for a low carb, easy cooking meal. That's what I got for you. And also, I'll show you the finishing plating at the end. And I'm also going to show you some meal prep meals. So, just the pictures. What people do when they do meal preps, they get bored and they don't follow through. But my meal preps are different meal every day. It's not made out all in one day. You do it in sections for freshness. And I can take chicken and do 3 different things with chicken. Add a different vegetable to it or a different starch to it. So each day you'll be used to getting something different and excited about it. Not like, oh, I got this chicken and rice dish again. I guess I got to eat it. And that's what makes people fall off from their meal planning. So, someone requested this low carb, high protein meal, and I answered. So, for those who are vegans, whatever the protein is, you can replace that with mushrooms for the texture, or some people like to use the fake meat. I'm not a fan of the fake meat, but you can use that as your choice of meat as well. So let's get in the kitchen, you guys. Let's get started. We're doing a low carb meal. They wanted something easy that they can do. So that's what we're going to do. So don't forget, I won't be showing you how I cut the greens, but it's going to be a uniform cut so the greens will cook evenly. So it's going to be like a medium slice. So important to clean your greens. And you will hear how I clean my greens as well. And then sometimes you can use whatever protein you have in your home already. Like if I say we need some boneless dark meat, you got some chicken legs. Use the chicken legs and cut the meat off the leg. Or you got thighs, but they're not boneless. Just cut it off. So we're going to learn to, over time, how to use things that I already have in my kitchen. So let's get going, you guys. Let's get in the kitchen and let's make our low carb, high protein meal. Y'all ready? Let's go. Okay, you guys, so these are the ingredients for the chicken that we're going to have along with the greens. So as you can see, I have some chicken that I marinated. It has some acid and oil, a little of the gochujang, and it has some garlic in there. So I had this sit overnight. You can do it for 30 minutes if you need to, but the longer you let it marinate, the better. This is a coconut oil that we're going to be using because of the melting point and a smoking point. So the smoking point for this is like 400 to 450. And then I have some maple syrup here. I have some mustard in here as well with a little goji gun. This is some seasonings. We have some coarse pepper and some coarse salt. And we're going to finish it off with what I call a lepro pepper. It has like a mild heat to it, and it has like a fruity tanginess to it. Some people think it's similar to pepper flakes, but it's not that much heat to it. So these are called lepro peppers. It won't take us long to cook this as well. So let's get this started. Let's get it going, you guys. Let's go. Okay, so now we have everything we need for our sauteed collard greens. We have some vegetable stock here. Once again, that coconut oil with that high melting point and smoke point. I had some small diced onions and garlic, and I have some seasoning that I made up there. If you guys want the recipe, I can get that for you. And I call this like organized cutting of the collard. And what I mean, it's not a rough chop. They all are sliced just the same so they will cook evenly. These are already cleaned, and I always soak my collards in like a warm bath, mostly not too warm. And I also put some apple cider vinegar, and I do a lot of rinsing prior to. And the reason that we want these cut evenly so they'll cook evenly. So that is why that is. And for presentation reasons, it'll look really good on the plate. So we also gonna get this started. So let's go in the kitchen, get this started. Okay, you guys, as you can see, I have the coconut oil in there and it is melting down. So what I want to do, sauteing, we're gonna do a two method. So we're gonna saute high. Sauteing is fast cooking, high heat. And then we're gonna simmer it down. I made like a tent foil we're gonna use as well. So let's go ahead and just drop our onions in there. We're gonna need these to cook for a little bit. May look like a lot of oil, but it's not, trust me. We just wanted to coat the greens as well. Some people feel like they gotta have salt pork or turkey necks or smoked meat. It has a lot of sodium in it. So you can get some good flavors if you have the right type of herbs and seasonings. And you don't need to cook your greens so long. Why is that? Because you take out all the nutrients and the whole purpose of eating vegetables, right? We don't want to do that. So now there is the garlic. Oh, if you guys could smell that, it smells so good. We don't want these things to burn, but it's high heat. We have our seasonings in there. And you know, some people can over season their food and you taste, when you get ready to eat it, all you taste is the sodium. And we don't want that. So I'm just coating the seasoning here over the garlic and the onions. Smells so good, you guys. Now, we want to go ahead and add our organized cut collard greens. And you want to taste the actual greens, so you don't want to drown out the main ingredient when all you taste is hot and salt. You don't want that. So we're going to let this cook on high heat for a little bit. It's important to let the greens cook a little bit before we add the liquid to it. And I'm just kind of tossing the seasonings, moving the greens around here a little bit. This is like a good low-fat meal. Low carbs. You requested a low-carb simple meal, and I say this is pretty simple. And you see, it looks like it started off with a lot of greens, but when it cooks down, but it's just enough for a serving size. You can do this as a meal prep, and I'll show you guys some pictures of my meal prep. I find that meal preps are not something that people stick to, especially if they're the same meals. So this is a good meal prep meal. Someone requested a low carb, high protein. Well, this is it. And it smells so good. So now we're going to add our vegetable stock. And like I said before, I have this tint because this particular saute pan that I'm using, if you guys remember, it's all clad. I like the way it cooks, and I'm not advertising for all clad. So this does not have a top to it, so I made a tint covering. And it's not going to totally seal it in, and it's still on high heat, so what we want to do is turn it down. We'll let that finish cooking, and we'll come back and see what we got. Stay tuned. Okay, you guys, let's see what's going on under here. It looks good, doesn't it? So we're gonna let this cook for another 5 minutes or so, and then we're just gonna set it aside for plating later. So let's cover that up. Okay, and it continues. Okay, I think we're going to be looking pretty good here, you guys. Look at it, and then cook down and everything. You don't want it to totally dry out. Some little liquid floating around. We're just gonna turn that off and set it aside. Now we're gonna get started with our sauteed chicken. Okay, you guys, I put the coconut oil in there, and as you can see, it has melted down. We want to hear a sizzle when we put this chicken in. It's so important. Very, very important. So we got all the oil in there, which is good. It's so important to use the right types of oil if you're cooking. That way it burns quicker, and then that burnt taste attaches itself to your main ingredient, and that is not good. So we don't want that. So let's go ahead, drop this chicken in there. I hear a little sizzle. So I had some dark meat, and I had chicken legs. So what I did, I just took them off the bone, and this is actually a total of like 10 ounces. So it's like a high protein. And a lot of your carbs is going to come when I add this maple glaze that I have here. That's where a little of your carbs are going to come from. And we want these things to get nice and completely done. So nice, crispy, and done. So for cooking chicken, you have to get your chicken to 165. Very important. So we're going to go ahead and take the seasoning here. Drop some seasoning. Now remember, I marinated this overnight. We do need seasoning on it. We won't do too much because a lot of the flavor is going to come from the mustard with the gochujang and the maple syrup. So we're gonna let that rest for a little bit and let that cook. And we will go from there, you guys. So let's let that just rest. Some people feel like they have to move stuff around as soon as they put it in there, and you don't. Just let it sit. We'll come back and see what's happening. I'm going to clean up this surface area around the food. Okay, you guys, let's turn this over. I mean, you can use what you have in your house. If you have some chicken legs, or you may have the thighs with the bone on them, just cut them off, you know, just to make a different meal. Some people like to stay in the box with eating. And you can do a lot of different things if you just look at some things that you have in your home, in the refrigerator, to say, what can I cook different? So we're just going to turn these over. A little brownness there. And with white meat, I wouldn't use white meat because I don't like it to dry out. But also, too, the glaze that I made, I don't think it would stick as well. So once we pour this glaze over there, we're going to let it cook down a little bit. So any kind of dark meat you have, whether you have it on the bone, you can cut it off the bone, or you got chicken legs like I did, I just cut them off the bone. And it's easy. You don't have to go out and buy things. Utilize what you have in your home. So let's let this cook a little bit longer. We're going to turn it down, and we're going to pour our glaze over it. All right, let's go from there, you guys. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and add our glaze here. Remember, it's maple syrup, a little gochujang in there, and some mustard. I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle my pepper in there. We're not gonna touch it. We're not gonna stir it or anything like that. But what we are going to do is let it cook down. So I have my little tent there. All right, we're gonna let that cook down for a little bit, and we will go from there. Okay, let's check and see what's going on. It's all cooked down. Look at that, it looks delicious. So let's go ahead and plate this, you guys. This is a low carb meal. Okay, you guys, this is it. Your low carb meal. Guys, this is very simple. And I just sprinkle some bell peppers for topping. Gotta try it. Real touch. I want to feel the love that vibrates from the very soul of a man, not aroused by sensuality, but the pureness of God's spirit and personality. I want my mind to stimulate when he opens his mouth and the wisdom of God spills out, telling me great things that cause me to think about how humble and honored I am that he is in my midst. I could feel the sacrifices he makes when his heart gives me a kiss. He calls upon the name of the Lord for every step he take, and I'll be there to back him up. We'll walk together in faith. So my soul waits for the real touch of my soulmate.